How's it going, everyone? My name is Michael SK, and welcome back to Higurashi When They Cry Chapter 2. So the last episode was fun. Saw Rika-chan in a bit of a different light, and I don't know if we can really trust her with everything. She obviously knows what's going on, and if she knows, then I'm pretty sure a lot of people are bound to know of what we did, of what Shion and Keiichi did, as well as Tomitake and Takano. So, where do we go from here? I have no idea. I guess at this point it's just trying to forget everything, trying to forget that we found out about all this, or learned of all this. Excuse me, and just try to live our lives, but of course, things are never going to be that simple. We're screwed. That's just how it is. After dinner, without the energy to watch TV, I climbed into the futon in my bedroom and let my head be overtaken by gloomy thoughts. I told Rika-chan anything and everything. She had seemed trustworthy at the time, but had that really been the right choice? The more I looked back on it, the less I understood what Rika-chan was saying. Not only did she know about Takano-san and Tomitake-san's deaths, but she spoke of them as if she were a concerned party. After all this time in my futon, I began to tremble fiercely. Had I been lured in by Rika-chan's sweet smile, and told her things I shouldn't have? I should have continued to feign ignorance. I shouldn't have shown her such a weak side of me. My emotions are a mix of regret and fear, and it colored the darkness of the night with an additional layer of terror. Suddenly, a knock. I might have yelped, and that's how surprised I was.
Keiichi, さっきから呼んでるぞ。電話だ。園崎さんから。
It was Dad. I reached out for the cordless phone through the gap in my door.
園崎さんってどっち？姉？妹？
そんなのは知らん。自分で出て聞きなさい。
I took the receiver and buried myself in my futon again.
もしもし、ミオンか？シオンか？
私です。シオンです。こんばんは。
I'm very surprised that she's calling us again after how Keiichi, you know, kind of overreacted. I just completely did not read that line. It was Shion who I hoped so desperately would call me back last night.
シオン！ゆうべはすまなかった。つい興奮して。
I heard what sounded like a deep sigh on the other end.
俺もシオンも同じ立場なんだよな。一方的に責めるような言い方をして悪かった。もうしない。謝るから機嫌を直してくれ。
機嫌を直したから電話したんです。後悔したなら許してあげますから。もう謝るのをやめてください。
Shion's tone still sounded a little angry, but for the moment she said she'd forgive me.
ケイちゃんの言うように、私たちは運命共同体なんです。互いの無事の確認が自分たちの安全の唯一の保証なんです。
ああ、それについては同感だ。
だから私たちは互いの知っている情報を共有する必要があります。高野さんたちみたいな死に方をしないために。
Gulp. I forced myself to swallow a solid drop of saliva.
では、昨日の続きを話します。もう怒らないで聞いてくれますよね。
ああ、大丈夫だ。
まず、私たちが思っている以上に、最後殿に忍び込んだことは禁忌、タブーだったみたいです。
Yeah, you think? Takano-san and Tomitake-san's miserable ends, terrible enough that you could call them a warning, and they were more than enough to make me believe that.
犯人たちは最後殿を怪我した首謀格のあの二人を殺し、次に私たちを狙います。否定したいでしょうが、これを認めてください。失踪してから認めてももう遅いんですよ。
分かってるって。用心に越したことはないからな。
私も本当は認めたくありません。あんな拷問道具の博覧会を覗き見したことがあんな殺され方をする理由になるなんて絶対に信じたくない。
And that's what a taboo is. Yeah, so don't be breaking any taboos or committing any taboos. Any kind, boys and girls. I don't know why I was trying to single out the boys, but for those who honor it, if one breaks the taboo, no matter how small or innocent their intentions were, they wouldn't be forgiven.
互いに何か気になることがあったら報告し合いましょう。互いの持つ小さな断片を合わせていけば ひょっとすると高野さんたちを殺した、いえ、今年の事件に限らない。
I mean, I was like nowhere close to being able to determine or predict who was actually behind everything in Chapter 1. In hindsight, it was really us who was behind a lot of what went wrong for us in Chapter 1.
過去の連続事件を解決する鍵が見つかるかもしれません。
そうだな。確かにそうだ。
All I was doing was waiting in fear, but Shion had already thought that far ahead. Given how trustworthy she felt, I became embarrassed over how passive I was being.
では、まずは言い出した私からいきます。最近、誰かに監視されているような気がします。
Uh-oh.
え？
と言っても、気のせいかもしれません。でも、一応報告します。今は気のせいだと思っていますけど、もしもケイちゃんも同じように誰かに監視されているように感じるなら、これは気のせいじゃないのかもしれませんから。
I mean...
そういうことなら安心しろ。少なくとも俺の方は大丈夫だ。
It was in Chapter 1 that we were being watched. There was that van. Remember that van that almost ran us over? There was that case. I think. As I spoke with Shion, I thought back on today. I had no grounds to say that everything was fine.
そうですか。では気のせいということにしますが、ケイちゃんも注意してください。
You know, we could be, being watched by one of our friends.
特に一人で表を歩くときは、細心の注意を払ってください。私は沖宮ですから、一人きりになることはそうそうありませんが、ケイちゃんはhinamizawaです。一人ぼっちになることも多いはずです。特に注意してください。
そうだな。ああ、気をつけるよ。
それから、お姉なんですが、何か変わった様子はありませんか？
Oh, absolutely.
お姉って、ミオンのことか。変わった様子って、どういうことだ？
先日、私、お姉に渡流しの夜の所在について問いただされました。
それは俺もだよ。一昨日かな。ミオンに聞かれた。
やっぱりですか。私は言ってないと答えました。ケイちゃんは？
同じだよ。ごまかした。
Both of us gave a quiet sigh of relief.
渡流しの晩以降、お姉の様子はおかしいです。用心に越したことはありませんので、注意してくださいね。
Mion was acting strangely. Aside from her asking me about the night of Watanagashi, she hadn't seemed too out of the ordinary, at least from my point of view. Her twin sister, though, was saying that she was acting weird. Maybe it was such a slight change that a stranger like me wouldn't be able to notice.
わかった。少し用心するよ。帰り道は必ずレナも一緒だから、二人きりになるってこともそうそうないしな。
用心してください。気になることがあったら教えてくださいね。
わかった。
And there we have it.
では、
Or maybe not.
ケイちゃんの方では何か私に話すことはありませんか？
My turn. That's right. Maybe I should report on Ushi-san asking me the same question at the library.
あ、ケイちゃんが逃げ遅れたあの時の話ですね。
ああ、大石さんにかなり強い口調で聞かれたよ。あの晩、高野さんたちと一緒にいなかったか、シオンに会わなかったかって。大石さんは俺たちが4人一緒にいたところを見ていたようだった。
警察にしてみれば、高野さんたちが最後に会った人間ということになりますからね。私たちに興味を持つのは、ある意味当然でしょうね。
こっちもごまかしたけど、かえって興味を持たれたかもしれない。
There was no way I could have tricked that sly old fox, Ushi-san. My troubled countenance, or however you say that, would have only made him even more certain.
なあ、シオン、警察なら行っちゃってもいいんじゃないのか？むしろ俺たちの状況を思えば、警察を味方につけるのはプラスだと思うぞ。
Yeah, because that definitely worked in our favor in Chapter 1. Shion didn't answer right away. For a few moments, all I could hear was her breathing as she thought about it.
そういえば大石さんはミオンに何らかの嫌疑があるなんて言ってたような気がする。うん、確かにそう言ってた。
昨日も話しました通り、 園崎家はHinamizawaに強い影響力を持っています。大石は一連の連続開始事件を園崎本家が中心になった村ぐるみの犯行だと疑っていますから。
園崎家が中心になった村ぐるみの犯行？
Please don't get angry like you did yesterday and just listen. I hammered that home before I got too upset. Ah, yes, a
hinamizawa の
plane.
ダム逃走の時、リーダーシップを期待された神主があまりに日和見だったので、園崎本家が首謀閣になって決起したんです。戦いの歴史についてはお姉から聞いてますよね。
ああ、Hinamizawa全体で一丸となって戦ったんだろう。デモをしたり、裁判に訴えたり、テレビに出たり。
実際はもっともっと過激なこともたくさん行われたんです。園崎本家が水面下で様々な違法な抵抗活動を行ったと言われてます。
違法な抵抗活動？
例えば夜中に建設現場に忍び込み、機材を盗んだり壊したり、建設重機のガソリンタンクに角砂糖を入れたりとか。
ガソリンタンクに砂糖？なんでそんなことを？
知らないんですか？戦争中にフランスの地下組織なんかがやった典型的なゲリラ活動ですよ。
Yeah, there's a lot of planes in the sky today.
砂糖を入れるとエンジンが焦げついて壊れちゃうんですよ。
That's pretty bad though, isn't it? It was destruction of property and nothing less.
建設現場への監視が強化されると、今度は工事の重要な立場にある人間への攻撃に変更されました。例えば工事を認可した役人たちには様々な脅迫が行われました。それは県庁の役人だけでなく、建設省の偉い役人にまで及んだそうです。聞いた話では子供の誘拐までやったとか。
Yeah, that's not good.
誘拐？
ええ、建設省のHinamizawaダムを担当する偉い人の子供が神隠しにあったんですよ。で、ある日突然Hinamizawaのもっと上流の高津戸の山中で保護されまして、犯行声明はなかったって言われてるんですけど、ダム工事を中止するようにとの脅迫があったのではないかと囁かれています。
Still, damn.
他にも
Literally.
枚挙にいとまがないほどの脅迫の話があります。
それは確かにちょっとやばいな。
そんな最中だったんですよ、第一の事件。現場監督のバラバラ殺人があったのは。園崎家が主犯格の男を買収したのではと囁かれてますが、何しろ今日も逃走中ですからね。
When you put it that way, the Sonozaki family definitely seems suspicious.
犯人も口封じで消したんじゃないかって大石は思ってるみたいです。当然ですね。身内である私ですら園崎本家の暗躍があったのではないかと思ってるくらいですから。
それを俺に信じろってのか？ミオンの園崎本家がそんな悪いことをやってきたと信じろというのか？
ケイちゃんが信じなくても村人たちは信じてます。自分たちが綺麗な抵抗運動をする陰で園崎家が汚い抵抗運動をしてくれた。自分たちの矢面に立って戦ってくれたんだってみんな思ってます。ですからちょっとしたダークヒーローとして崇められているんですよね。私が知っているのは本当に一部だけだと思います。例えば誘拐なんかの特にヤバい話は当主のバッチャーを含めほんの数人しか知らされてないと思います。園崎家は秘密主義ですから。
秘密主義か。
A family so unforthcoming that even Shion, who is related to them, doesn't know everything about them. The Sonozaki family. Unlike Shion, her older sister, or her older twin, Mion, was deeply involved with everything, and that was not a fun thought to entertain.
そういった違法な抵抗運動の中心として年少ながら活躍したのがお姉でした。
ミオンが？どういうことだよ。
うちのお父さんヤクザの大物ですから、年少のお姉でも若い柄の悪いのを何人も従えることができました。
Interesting.
で、 様々な嫌がらせや妨害をやってのけたんです。
ミオンが。
今はなんだかのんびりした雰囲気だから想像もつかないでしょうが、器物破損から脅迫、暴行まで一通りこなして何度も補導されたんですよ。子供ですからすぐに釈放してもらえたみたいですけどね。お姉は自分の年齢が武器になることを知ってたみたいです。
It may have been indiscreet, but I couldn't help but chuckle dryly. She may have been young, but she was certainly still Mion. Even back then, she had already been known for her craftiness.
笑い事じゃないです。真剣になってください。
悪い。そんなつもりじゃ。
Shion had gotten pretty angry at me.
まあ、そんな不良娘だったお姉も、いつの間にかそのだけ本家の重鎮。大石がバラバラ殺人以降の事件を疑いたくなるのも、まあ無理ないことです。
For a few moments, I was dumbstruck at the tales of Mion's past. None of them matched the image I had of her. A younger Mion dirtying her hands with all sorts of crimes, giving the dam construction project hell. As the successor of the Sonozaki main family, she was always right at the center of the vortex of strange incidents occurring year after year. Was that really the Mion I know? Maybe the one I know isn't the real Mion. I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't bring myself to accept these images of Mion I was hearing from another person.
まあ、話を戻します。お姉が注意に値する存在であることは理解してもらえたと思います。注意してください。
I didn't want to understand. Mion was a fantastic friend. She would never do something to back me into a corner like that. She did ask me pretty harshly about the night of the festival, but even that, it wasn't like she'd said it in a mean way or anything.
わかった。気をつけるようにするよ。
私とお姉は血のつながった姉妹ですが、園崎家にあってはまるで格が違うんです。
Yeah, it's becoming more and more apparent.
私とはとても遠い存在だということを認識してください。お願いします。
The more Shion tells me about Mion, the less I understand who Mion is. The Mion I know wasn't a dangerous person. She joked around, smiled a lot, and was full of passion. And now that I'd realized I'd held such a view towards her, Shion was telling me to change it. To be careful around the best friend ever. To doubt her. The idea was very sad and painful.
で、大石の件ですが、ケイちゃんがいいと判断するなら、必要な情報を与えてもいいと思います。やはり警察を味方につけるのは、私たちに有利に働くと思います。
やっぱりシオンもそう思うか。
ただ、今説明した通り、園崎の人間はそもそも警察に睨まれているんです。
So this might put more pressure on the Sonozaki family.
特に大石は、園崎家が丸ごと連続事件の黒幕だと決めてかかってますからね。それはもちろん私も含めてです。ですから、私はあまり大石には関わりたくないんです。
I see. If Ueshi-san had found out about the Sonozaki family's strife-filled history, then he probably wouldn't be very happy with Shion either. At last I understood Mion's instinctive dislike for Ueshi-san.
どうせバレてはいるんですが、一応私の名前を伏せておいてください。それだけ守ってくれれば、大石には何を話しても問題ないと思います。
わかった。伏せるようにするよ。
警察の捜査力は、今の私たちにはとても心強い武器になると思います。大石が興味深い話をしたら、私にも聞かせてくださいね。
ああ、もちろんだ。情報は互いに交換し、研究し合おう。高野さんたちを殺したのは誰なのか、そして俺たちを狙うのは誰なのか、それが分かるまで俺たちは自衛しなくてはならない。
あとはありますか？
I think we're good.
大石に聞かれたこと以外は、身に起こったことはどんな些細なことでも教えてください。
I don't think he told us anything else other than, that he saw us together. Aside from my discussion with Ueshi-san... Oh. Should I tell her that I revealed everything to Rika-chan? Rika-chan was acting like she knew something I didn't. She told me to leave it to her. But what? Ah, that's right. When I was talking to her, I mentioned Shion's name too. Was that a mistake? I felt like Shion would get angry.
何もないんですか？ケイちゃん？
I had remained quiet for a little while, so Shion encouraged me to speak, unable to bear the silence. As I struggled with what to say, Shion addressed me instead.
ないようでしたら私から聞きたいんですけど、私もついさっき聞いたんですが、君吉のおじいちゃんが行方不明になったって本当ですか？
It would seem so. The old man Kimiyoshi. My gut told me that was the name of the mayor.
村長さんのことか？なんだシオン、聞いてないのか？
何も知らないです。お父さんが電話でそう話してるのをまた盗み聞いただけですから。
Excuse me. I was giving myself a big ol' yawn. I realized I shouldn't have said that. Here in Hinamizawa, the things that happened around this time, when Oyashiro-sama's curse would recur, would all be covered up.
ああ、実はな、昨べ会合の後、家に帰ってこないとかで、南沢中で大騒ぎになったんだ。村中で探したみたいだけど、まだ見つかったって話は聞かないな。警察も探してるはずなんだけど。
Oh shit.
なんでそんな大事な話を先にしてくれなかったんですか？
That scared me. She shouted angrily at me, bringing all her emotion to bear.
悪い。もう知ってると思ってたんだよ。隠す気なんかなかった。
The receiver was silent. Did Shion get mad again and hang up?
おい、シオン、もしもし？
ケイちゃん、私どうしよう。
Shion's tiny, confused voice sounded like it belonged to a different person than the one yelling a few seconds ago.
どうした？話せよ。俺たちの間で隠し事はなしだろ？
Shion hesitated for a long while, but then she confessed.
ごめん。隠すつもりはなかったんです。ちょっと言うのが前後したっていうか。
俺たちは仲間だろ。怒ったりしないから正直に話せよ。
Shion still hesitated for a few moments. Then in a resigned voice, she continued.
私、君吉のおじいちゃんに打ち明けたんです。
Oh. Shion seemed to think I would yell at her right after she said that, so I heard her catching her breath. Contrary to what she thought, I was a little relieved. Shion had done the same thing I had when I confessed everything to Rika-chan. So, in as gentle as a voice as I could, so as not to set her off, I responded.
君吉のじいさんってのは、シオンにとって相談できる心安い人なんだろ？
はい、私のことを小さい頃から本当に可愛がってくれて。
Shion felt the same pain as the rest of us from the mayor's disappearance. She had a different kind of strength from Mion, and as she continued, her voice sounded truly sad and pained.
私、いつも意地悪なことをしてたのに、いつもニコニコと笑って、私の言うことは何でも聞いてくれて、本当に優しい人だったのに。
落ち着けよ、シオン。別に死んでしまったわけじゃないだろ。そんな簡単に諦めるなよ。
Shion didn't answer. Even as I said it myself, I didn't think we'd ever find the missing mayor again. We probably wouldn't even figure out if he was alive or dead. Shion must have been thinking the same thing.
村長さんに、私、あの晩、最後でに忍び込んだこと、打ち明けたんです。誰かにそれを見られてて、私たちを狙っている人がいるって。
村長さんは、高野さんたちがまともじゃない死に方をしたのを知ってるのか？
はい、知っていました。あの二人がお社様のたたりで死んだから、私はその怒りを鎮める生贄にされるんじゃないかって、本当に率直に言いました。
ああ、それで？
君吉のおじいちゃん、怒らなかった。そしてにっこり笑って、シオンちゃんがちゃんと反省してるなら鬼隠しになんかなるものかって。
This is sounding oddly familiar.
本当に笑いながら、任せなさい。
It's sounding even more familiar. Until Shion stopped sobbing, I was unable to find any words for her. I couldn't imagine what kind of person the mayor was, nor what Shion's relationship with him was like. Words of comfort, however, mean so much to us when we're about to be crushed by anxiety. Today, Rika-chan taught me that too. If someone who gave me such a sense of security were to disappear, then I could guess what kind of shock Shion was in.
私のせいです。私が打ち明けてしまったから。
よせよ、シオン。シオンのせいじゃないよ。
私のせいなんです。私 から君吉のおじいちゃんが知ってしまったから。だから殺されてしまったに違いないんです。だって打ち明けてすぐなんですよ。打ち明けて大丈夫って言ってくれたその晩に消えてしまった。
He found out. So he became involved.
話すんじゃなかった。これは全部私たち4人の動画だったはず。他人に話してはいけないことだったんです。話したから殺されてしまった。だから殺されてしまった。打ち明けたから殺されてしまった。
おい待てよ、そんなやつなら打ち明けた村長を殺す前にお前から先に殺すに決まってるじゃないか。順番が違うよ。殺されるなら俺かシオンが先、他の奴らが先に死んだりするものか。
順番はあります。私たちを一番最後に殺すつもりに違いないんです。
は？なんだって？
人思いに殺さないで親しい人たちから順々に殺していって散々悲しい思いをさせた後に殺す、そういう狙いに違いないんです。
I find that ridiculous, but that makes me even more worried for Rika-chan.
落ち着けって。シオンは今ショックを受けてパニックを起こしてるだけなんだよ。村長の失踪はシオンとは関係ない。無関係だ。高野さんたちの死とも全く関係ないんだ。
My words came out as a scream, as if I were shouting them at myself.
関係あります。絶対にそうなんです。私が話したから殺されてしまった。だから殺されてしまった。打ち明けたから殺されてしまった。
She repeated the same thing as before, as though she were in a delirium. Despite my trying to console the crazed Shion, for some reason, the shadow at my feet began to freeze. From that shadow, a cold arm reached out, so cold, it seemed like it would freeze even my heart just by touching me, and grabbed my ankle. The heat generated by my body, the arm was absorbing it. It was a horrible chill, a freezing cold, numbingly frigid. It was an inviolable chill of fear. Though I sympathized with Shion, I had been naive in thinking it was something only she had to worry about. In my head, Shion's eerie words repeated again and again. He was killed because I told him. He was killed because he found out. I confess everything. So he was killed. Those words echoed through my head like a monotone mantra, and finally those even repetitions took on meaning. The quiet shaking that had already overtaken me turned into a violent shiver that shot up my spine.
リカちゃん！リカちゃんだ！
今、なんて言ったんですか？
俺も、実は、打ち明けたんだ。リカちゃんに、今日！
リカちゃんって、リカちゃまのことですか？フルデ神社のリカちゃま？
そうだよ、リカちゃんだよ。俺も、どうしようもなく不安で、打ち明けたんだ、リカちゃんに。
そうしたら、リカちゃまはなんて
Practically the same shit here. The cat is worrying too much. I'll do something about it for sure. And that's what Rika-chan said, and then she smiled. She smiled just like the missing mayor had when he encouraged Shion. Which means we're gonna lose Rika. Right?
ちょっとリカちゃんのことが心配になっちゃって。
はい、そんなに心配でしたらぜひ電話を、安否を確認してみてください。
ああ、そうさせてもらう。
また明日もこのくらいの時間に連絡します。それをもって私の安否確認としてください。
わかった、待ってる。じゃあな、すまん、切るぞ。
I put down the receiver without waiting for Shion to say goodbye. The danger to Shion and myself was secondary at this point. My sixth sense was blaring alarms in my head. I don't like this feeling. It's really bad. It's definitely bad.
くそ、無事でいてくれ、リカちゃん。
Are we actually going to go dash out and look for her? Is that what's going to happen here? I mean, I really hope she is safe, but it would point us into a more specific direction if something did happen to her. Another scrapbook note, and their punishment isn't over. Time to view the tips. Yeehaw, I actually didn't get an achievement for that, so I wonder why. The three families in modern times. As previously described, the three families council today is a mere shell of democracy. In reality, it is a dictatorship run by the Sonozaki family. Both the Kimiyoshi and Furude families are far from their former glory, and it doesn't seem at all like they've maintained the ancient traditions. Only the Sonozaki family has retained their glory from the past, and has inherited many colorful traditions from the age known as Watanagashi village. Even the most recent verifiable example of Watanagashi that occurred at the end of the Meiji era seems to have been done under the orders of the Sonozaki family. Refer to the three families' genealogical tree from the late Meiji. After the start of the Meiji era, the Sonozaki family wanted to push the development of the Hinamizawa village, so they took a strong role in leadership. During the Dam Wars a few years ago, the Kimiyoshi family served as the chair of the opposition alliance, but this was in name only. In actuality, the Sonozaki family reigned as leader behind the scenes. People whispered that perhaps the Kimiyoshi family dictated acts of opposition that could be publicized, and the Sonozaki family enacted those which could not. Even in Hinamizawa, they whispered that the multitude of unsettling incidents reported during the dam protests, such as kidnapping of the famous head of the Ministry of Construction's son, which still, goddamn, had been carried out by the Sonozakis. Additionally, they say that perhaps the Sonozaki family's secret maneuvering was responsible for the serial-free death incidents, that have continuously occurred in recent years as well. The serial-free death incidents are without a doubt the second coming of the traditional Watanagashi. They must have been enacting the Watanagashi on the day of the original Watanagashi, which has fallen to the level of the ordinary village festival, in order to remind the villagers of the holy laws of Watanagashi village. It's safe to assert that exploring the Sonozaki family is the fastest route for researching it today. If I can expose the contents of the Furude Shrine storehouse, I'd like to narrow my research target to the Sonozaki family next. The Sonozaki house is strictly guarded by security cameras on the premises, but thankfully I've become acquainted with the sisters Mion, their next heir, and Shion. I want this to be a breakthrough I can connect to my next line of research. Yeah, I'm sure she's gonna do a fantastic job with all that. 100%, I'm really backing her up here. But obviously she's not gonna get anywhere, she's dead. Their punishment isn't over. This is back to the festival. What's going on here?
いえいえ、気にしないでくださいよ。この店でおでんを食べるとですね、なぜか年計のガソリンスタンドの請求書に化けちゃうんですよ。だから遠慮しないでもう一杯飲んでいけばいいのに。
The man, red-faced, waved his hand to say that he'd had enough, and disappeared into the brilliant neon lights in front of the station.
クマちゃんも勉強しといてくださいよ。謙虚な人が結局一番長生きするんです。
Oh yeah, good to know.
さっきの話、
さあ、
Nope, my bad.
それはわからないですけどね。真偽はともかくそういう話がまことしやかに流れてるってことには意味があると思いますよ。
そんなのが村長を狙う動機になりうるんすかね。
クマちゃん、いつも言ってるでしょ。動機っていうのはその本人に十分でありさえすれば足りるんです。価値観の違いをよく考えなくちゃ。あ、お母さん、もう一杯ください。
Though we have been suppressing the information, Tomitake and Takano's deaths were already known throughout Hinamizawa. All of the rumors pointed to them having incurred the wrath of Yashiro-sama for setting foot in the Forbidden Temple, the storehouse for ritual implements. According to the rumors, there were two other people who went in there with them, Shion Sonozaki and Keiichi Maibara. People were whispering in the shadows that those two would be cursed by Yashiro-sama as well. Apparently, however, the responsibility didn't fall solely on the four trespassers' shoulders. Until last year, it was locked up tight. But this year, it had been changed to a simpler lock. Hadn't that been what allowed thieves to enter so easily? And those were the rumors going around. So people definitely saw. It wasn't just Oushi-san. Other people definitely saw and spread that around.
すみません。ちょっと思い出せないっす。
そりゃもうおっかないくらいに厳重に施錠してありましてね、まるで大金庫みたいに厳重な蔵だったんですよ。
This year it was a very simple and cheap padlock. The lone girl protecting the shrine, Rika Furude, disliked the heavy locks and consulted with the mayor, who had replaced it with a simpler padlock.
だから村長とフルでリカも同罪ってことなんですか？だとしたら村長に続いてフルでリカもまずいじゃないですか。
I guess that could also be a way to look at this.
その可能性は大ですね。クマちゃん、Hinamizawaを巡回している覆面者に至急連絡。これで神社近辺に張り付かしてください。
了解っす。
God damn it. I want to know what's gonna happen next, but I gotta end the episode. I really want to know what's gonna happen next. Fuck me, right? Guess we'll jump in here so I can save it. After hanging up with Shion, I searched for Rika-chan's phone number on my school's contact list. There it is. My fingers trembled with urgency, and I failed multiple times to put in the simple 5-digit number. But are we gonna get through?
Ch.2 こんな時間に電話？夜遅くは先方に失礼だからよしなさい。
今はそれどころじゃないんだよ。
I shouted angrily at my mother, listening to the dial tone. Pick up, come on, pick up. The time was 11 p.m. It certainly wasn't early. It was essentially the middle of the night. Had Rika-chan already gone to bed? Her phone would be ringing constantly though, so would she get back up for me? Rika-chan didn't pick up. She didn't pick up. She didn't pick up! Maybe she just happened to miss it. Maybe her bed was just too far away from the phone. The sound of a phone ringing gets clearer and clearer the longer you go on sleeping. And then... the bathroom? Yeah, she must be taking a bath. If that was the case, then even if she heard the phone, she wouldn't be able to pick up. It was a little late for her to be taking a bath, but it was possible she normally took baths right before going to bed. I'll wait 30 minutes and then try calling again. I don't know why we're hearing the fucking ringing. Yeah, instead of, you know, the dial tone. Even as I was thinking that, I called her house over and over again. I kept calling. Over and over, again and again. I kept calling her, but she didn't pick up even once. I think I kept trying it for about 30 minutes. Yet she wasn't picking up. Were my phone calls so persistent that she gotten scared of picking up the receiver? No, that couldn't possibly be it. There was no point in doing this any longer. The best thing to do would be to go there in person. Where was Rika-chan's house, though? Shit. I've never even asked where she lived. Her residence was written there in the contact list, but it was an address with mostly numbers, so I couldn't tell where it was just by reading it. Isn't there a map or something in here? Rika Furude. Her last name was Furude. It was a bit of an odd last name, so it might be easy to find. Thinking that, I rummaged around the drawer with the phone book, but could only find things that, like, takeout menus and phone numbers for public establishments. Shit. I tore one thing after another out of the drawer, but I didn't come up with any clues as to where Rika-chan's house was. Calm down, Keiichi Maibara. If you don't know, then just ask. Ask someone who does know. I looked up Rena's phone number on the contact list. Rena Ryugu. There she was. Ooh. It was the voice of a grumpy-sounding man. It must have been Rena's father. I'm calling in the middle of the night. I need to be polite.
夜分遅くに申し訳ありません。前原と申しますが、レナさんはいらっしゃいますか？
レイナは風呂に入っていますが。出たかな。レイナ、友達から電話だぞ。
Oh, right. Reina Ryugu was her real name, wasn't it? I had gotten so used to calling her Rena that hearing her real name caught me a little off guard.
もしもし、お電話変わりました。
あ、俺だよ、ケイジだ。夜遅くにすまん。
あれ？ケイチ君？こんな時間に何かな？
実はリカちゃんの家がどこにあるのか知りたいんだ。
Rena seemed a little appalled that I'd call her for something like that at this hour. However, she spoke her next words seriously as if she'd caught on to how urgent my need was.
フルデ神社の境内に集会所があるよね。その裏手に2階建ての倉庫小屋があるのを知ってるかな。そこに住んでるんだよ。
I couldn't immediately visualize the place, but as long as I knew she lived on the shrine grounds, I'd just have to take a look around.
わかった。ありがとう。こんな遅くにすまなかったな。親父さんに謝っといてくれ。
そんなのはいいよ、圭一くん。それより、どうしてリカちゃんの家を聞くのかな。
Rena asked in an unusually sharp way, halting me before I could hang up the phone. I hesitated for a moment about whether to tell her. He was killed because I told him.
圭一くん、聞こえてるなら答えてほしいな。どうしてリカちゃんの家の場所をこんな時間に聞きたいのかな。
Rena affected her usual tone, but beneath her words lay a certain tension, like she'd intuitively sensed something was going on. What will you do, Keiichi? If it's Rena, can't I tell her? He was killed because he found out. I revealed everything, so he was killed.
圭一くん、レナは真剣に聞いてるんだけどな。答えてほしいよ。
Rena asked me once again in a tone so forceful I couldn't imagine her ever using it normally. I was taken aback by her vigor. Rena was Rika-chan's friend, Rena was Rika-chan's friend too, excuse me. She had the right to be concerned about Rika-chan disappearing. If I told Rena, then, even if for a moment I could drive away my horrifying fears.
でな、その、理由を聞かれると困るんだが。
Rena's tone was seriousness itself. Just from that tone I could feel her saying, no matter what you say, Keiichi-kun, I'll believe you. And that subtle sense of security gave me the courage to reveal the truth.
リカちゃんが危ない気がするんだ。
それは虫の知らせかな。それともリカちゃんに危険が迫っている何か確信がある？
Yeah, I'd say it's more like a mix of between the two, but more premonition. I really didn't have time to go back and forth with Rena about this. Still, I think listening to her calm voice soothed my pointless impatience.
確信はないけど。
Yet I still hesitated. I had told Rika-chan that we'd snuck into the ritual storehouse. The mayor to whom Shion had confessed before had already disappeared. So it was possible that Rika-chan also... I didn't know how to explain it to Rena. While I was tongue-tied, Rena spoke up.
変なこと聞いてごめんね。考えたら確信なんか必要なかった。
Rena laughed a little, seeming a bit absent-minded. I wasn't exactly in the mood to laugh, so this time I was dumbfounded. Rena continued in a cheerful yet still purposeful voice.
友達のことが心配になって、それを確かめるのに理由なんかいらないと思う。仮にリカちゃんが寝てて、それを起こしてしまったとしても、それが理由なら私たちは誰も怒らないと思うよ。
Rena, thank you.
じゃあ、まずは圭一君に確認するね。リカちゃんの家に電話はしたんだよね。それでどうしても繋がらないから、家の場所を聞いてきたんだね。
Pretty much.
ああ。10分以上は鳴らし続けたと思う。ひょっとしたら気づかなくて寝てるだけなのかも。
リカちゃんの家はとても狭いの。だから電話が鳴ったら、たとえ寝ていても気づかないわけはないよ。さとこちゃんもいるんだから、2人揃って気づかないわけはない。
Oh no.
さとこってリカちゃんと一緒に住んでるのか？
うん、知らなかったの？今はその話は後ね。とにかく電話をそれだけ鳴らして誰も出ないのは絶対におかしいよ。
Yeah, that was kind of hinted at earlier. I didn't bring it up though. Rena understood that the situation wasn't normal far faster than I could have ever imagined her to. It made her seem dependable. However, the fact that Rena had acknowledged this also meant that the best case possibility of it all, just being the result of my own needless fears, went out the window.
私も今からすぐにリカちゃんの家に行くね。一緒に行く？なら迎えに行くよ。
わかった。じゃあいつもの待ち合わせ場所で合流しよう。待ってるぞ。
私、圭一君の家に迎えに行くから。だからお家で待ってていいよ。それからご家族に私と一緒にリカちゃんの家に行ってくるって伝えておいてね。
うちでいいのか？時間のロスのような。
あと、みーちゃんには電話した？みーちゃんはこういう時すっごく頼もしいの。まだなら私から電話しておくね。
My thoughts froze over for a moment. Shion had just told me to be careful around Mion during our phone conversation a little while ago. Maybe it wouldn't hurt this much if we had her help here. If the Sonozaki main house was somehow lurking behind the surface of the annual freak deaths, then the current heir to the family, Mion, wouldn't be uninvolved. So wouldn't that mean she wasn't uninvolved in what happened this year to Takano-san and Tomatake-san, and also the mayor's disappearance?
じゃあね。すぐに行くからね。待っててね。
And that's all Rena said before hurriedly hanging up. Now wasn't the time to be doubting Mion. I needed to make sure Rika-chan was safe. Yeah, that is the goal here. I got changed and grabbed the key to my bike. And I figured things would go more smoothly if we met up in the place we usually do before school. Rena wouldn't need to come all the way to my house. My parents would probably have objected if I told them I was leaving, so I creeped out without a word. The night was unusually warm and disagreeably humid. I feel like we should have told them something. Oh well, whatever. Okay, we gotta end the episode here. I am out of time. Thank you all for watching this episode. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, subscribe, all that fancy jazz. I can't wait for the next one, and that's all I'll say about that. Take it easy, everybody.